Wow. Good morning, guys. And welcome to part 7 of the Building in Ohana series. Nothing like getting covered in man glitter first thing in the morning. So, that is a big window. This is a 4-foot by 8-foot window. This is actually the same window that we have in the living room of our house. I like this window. It's big, it's kind of expensive, but I thought that it would be cool to be in here just to let more light in. So that's how we're starting out this video. I want to say thank you guys for watching. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get to work. All right, guys, so right back to the window. This, of course, is not installed yet. I have the clamps holding it in place. When you're installing a window like this, at least what I like to do is I use shims, and I like using paint sticks, like the kind that you get for free at Home Depot, to shim underneath, to raise it up, make sure it's all level. Check your spacing, left to right, and the top and bottom. So that's probably not quite ½ inch. So if I use a large paint stick, which is about ¼ inch, it should space this pretty close to center. And once I get the spacers in the bottom, I center it left to right the best I can. Typically, you reach, you use your fingers to feel the spacing side to side. This one, obviously, I'm not going to be able to reach because it's an 8-foot window. So I will just eyeball it and try to get as close as I can. Maybe I'll even use my tape measure, I don't know. Once the sides are on, or once the sides are as close as you want to get them, what I typically do is I'll put the slider back in here and I slide the slider almost completely shut. And then when you look at the edge of the window and the edge of your windowsill or your window frame, you want to make sure that the opening is the same along the entire thing, right? And then that's how you know that your window is plumb or square, whichever way you want to look at it. So let me get my spacer set up and get some screws in the bottom. All right, so as you can see, I have my little spacers in there, and I have the window screwed in along the bottom. And on this side here, I already have the side screwed in. But what I was talking about as far as adjusting the windows, you close it till it's right about there, and then you look at your line here and you make sure that it's the same all the way down. So on this side, I'm getting ready to do this one. So this one, it's a little tighter at the top and bottom. So basically it's going to be pried out slightly here in the middle. So I have my son here helping me. He's here for the summer. Well, summer's almost over, but he's prying it while I go outside and I put the screws in. So, yeah, let me get back to work. All right, so this window is fully installed and I have the trim around it already. So I'm gonna switch gears a little and come to the outside and actually start working on buttoning up this side of the Ohana. So what that is going to entail is putting blocking in here between the beams. There's going to be Z-channel that's going to go on top of the siding, and then there's going to be a small piece of siding that'll go on top of that to fill that last bit of space. Be doing the trim on the sides here, the trim on the bottom, trim on that side. I basically want to finish this end up completely, minus the window, of course. But then that will be done, I guess, when we get that window, then I'll cut it in and do that. I basically want to get this whole end prepped and finished so that I can actually start painting. And then I also want to do the same across the front. So in the front, there's going to be 2x12s that are going to go across here because that's going to be where the deck will attach to once I do the deck. So the 2x12s are going to end up lining up with the top of the trim piece once I get that on. And it's going to run the entire length of the Ohana on this side and also the entire length of the back side over there because the deck is going to wrap around for the outdoor shower. On this side, the actual back of the Ohana, that'll just be trim going all the way down, and then Z channel will go all the way around the whole top, basically capping this row of siding, and then the next pieces of siding will go on top of that. So that's what I'm going to work on now, getting this blocking in and getting this side cleaned up. All right, so just to show you guys what I'm doing up here with this Z channel. The way that this mounts is it just fits over top of the lower piece of siding, and then the next piece of siding up goes on top of it. It can be nailed in, but if you're nailing the piece right over it, it's not really necessary. So I'm not. In this piece, it's almost not even worth it because it's such a short section. But when you're joining siding like this, you got to have something on there, a drip edge, or you have to do what I'm doing down here where there's a piece that just goes over the seam. So as this wraps around the Ohana and goes to the front, it'll be more apparent, I guess, or worthwhile, because those pieces are going to be much larger going up, you know, to the loft section. And then also the gable of this roof, I guess that would be a gable, even though it's only half. So that's what I'm doing here, just working my way around. Then I'll be starting on the other trim pieces here once I get this complete. All right. So I have all the trim pieces on this whole wall. On the side, the trim piece that's going in between the two pieces of siding down here, this corner. And then I also have the first piece of 2x12 up here. As you can see, I started caulking everything. I basically just did as high as I can reach right now, and then I'll go back with the ladder and I'll get the upper section. Pretty much just prepping this to paint, because I want to get this painted, you know, as soon as possible, so that it's not sitting here. I mean, this siding is primed, and it could just stay like that, but I want to get the paint on there before like too much dust or dirt settles on it, and then makes it hard for the paint to stick. So I'll probably start on that tomorrow, just doing the paint on there, at least up to the part that I caulked, and then I'll go back and I'll do the caulking on the upper portion, and then get that painted. I held off on the blocking because if I put that blocking on there right now with the way the tarp is, water is going to pool behind the blocking, and then I'm going to get more water inside the Ohana. So I'm actually going to hold off on those until I'm ready to start working on the roof. But I probably will start painting these beams when I paint that upper section of the wall. And like I said, this whole section up here is already prepped. And then this 2x12 will just continue. The trim for the door will rest right on this. Of course, I'm going to have to pull the stairs off temporarily, and then I'll put them back on. And I wanted to go over one more thing that I didn't really cover in the last video. The pocket door that I started working on. I do have the rail in there now, and then the sliders. So that's set up and ready. I probably won't touch this again until I'm way further along in this and I actually start working on building that door. And that's going to end up being a custom door. My wife and I are discussing designs, so we're actually going to make some kind of design in the wood for that door, just so that it's cool and unique. So I'm wrapping up for today. It's getting close to 5 o'clock, so I will pick back up in the morning. And the loft is skinned, minus this little part here, but I got a couple scrap pieces I'll use for that. And I'm actually going to do this side too, just so it's even on both sides. And then there's a little bit that's going to get cut out here, just because this piece went past where the stairs will be, the top of the stairs. So I put these boards up to represent the roof line. This is basically 5 feet from the top of that beam to the top of that 2x4, and then this is 6 feet. And looking at it now, I think I'm going to have to go 6 feet on here, and then I should have the same roof pitch as the roof on that side. This one here is a little flat still, so I think if I go another foot up on this side, it should be exactly the same. And this is a 16-foot 2x4, so I'm gonna have to figure that out because I'm not going to be able to get 24-foot beams. I think the biggest they have is 20 foot so that I can match the beams that are on that side. So if I do get 20 foot, I think what may end up happening is it'll stop there and then it'll stick out the 4 feet on this side. And then on that side I may do a actual roof coming down this way, kind of like on the back of my shop, just a short 4-foot piece, and it would match the roof line below. Yeah, I got to think about that for a minute. Either that, or if I build up the wall here, then I'll do a partial beam and then a partial beam, and it'll sit on this wall in the middle. So I got to think about that. I guess that's the advantage of building on the fly with no plans. You can change your plans. So I'm gonna have to run to town, get some 2x4s so I can start building these walls. This one here I know for sure is gonna be 6 feet because this is basically gonna be the back of the loft. And then when the bed is up here, it's gonna go against this wall. So when you walk up, you'll come around the bed, to go to either side of it. And with this being 6 feet, that's gonna be the bottom of the beam. So the beam's going to be a 4x8, so the ceiling will actually be another, 8 inches taller than that. But even still, unless you're, 7 foot, you're not going to hit your head on this. So it's still fully walkable. And then over here will end up being a small bathroom, I think. Be just 3 feet wide, so you can see the sheet of plywood is 4 feet. So it'll be 3 feet wide, and then it'll be roughly 8 feet long. There'll be a pocket door on whichever side it goes on. There'll be a toilet here, and then a vanity here, and then the door will be in between. Something like that. It may not actually be a full 8 feet. I mean, we might even do 6 feet, and then this space over here will become a closet. So we'll figure that out. Another advantage to just building out of your head. You can add a bathroom. So that's the view of the Ohana from our lanai. You can see the roof piece I put up there just for the profile. I actually planted a bunch of black sugar cane along this whole fence line, and that's going to grow to be 10 or 12 feet tall. So once that fills in, this will be totally blocked. Yeah. So since I got the trim finished up, or some more of the trim, which I showed before, I did a bit more painting. So of course that will continue. Just one-man show, So it's been kind of a rainy morning. So I was working on getting the trim done around the door. So you can see I have that done now. And I also added the other 2x12 to this side. Of course, everything needs to be painted. But now the sun's out. The sky looks fairly blue and clear, so I'm going to pull this tarp off and I'm going to get started on putting those walls up on the loft. All right, I got the tarp cleared off and pushed back, so I'm going to get started on this. I don't think I'm going to film this because this is just going to be very basic. This is going to be a 6-foot wall. There's no windows, no anything. So just straight framing. This one's going to be a bit more difficult. There's going to be 3 windows in this wall. It will also be 6 feet tall, but then the problem is going to be getting it up there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it over here, and then I'm going to put some 2x4s here so that I can slide it up, and then from there I'll stand it up. Because the beams are on the other side, so it's not like it's going to fall through. It shouldn't really slide down, so that's my plan. I'll see how far I get. All right, so the easy wall is done. This little C channel, that's going to be where the bathroom wall is for the upstairs bathroom. Like I said, 3 feet. Probably end up being like 6 or 7 feet. I don't know, whatever it's going to be. I'll figure that out when I get to that part. But that is to attach the wall, the inside wall, to there. So I got my other 16 footers up here. I'm starting to mark them out for the wall that's going to go on the beam. And I guess I cut myself. So this wall is going to have 3 windows in it, and they're going to be 2 foot by 3 foot windows. So 2 foot wide, 3 foot tall. One in the middle, and then there's going to be 2 feet of space, and then 1, 2 feet of space, 1, something like that. So let me get this framed out, and then I'll figure out how to get it over there. Alrighty, so this wall is built, and as you can see, I put a couple stops that are screwed into the back of that beam. I have some 2x4s here. So basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this out till it gets to the beam. I'm going to use that ladder, and then we're going to, my wife's out here, she's going to help me. She's just not on camera right now. I'm going to attach some 2x4s to here with a screw. We will basically lift it up into place, and then I will start securing it. So this should be pretty easy. This wall is not very heavy at all. All right, well, shooting almost directly into the sun, but that is what the second level is going to look like. You can see where the larger openings are. That's where the windows will be, and then the roof line will be, down. Let me go inside. All right, so this is up in the loft looking out. So I guess that'll be the view. Some trees and some blue sky. I put some 2x4s up here. These are 16-foot 2x4s, and I'm attaching them with a screw on each end, and that's basically going to be for when the tarp is back over top. I'm going to put 3 more in the middle here. So they'll basically be in the same spot where the beams will be once I get the beams, and then kind of give you an idea of what the roof line is going to look like. So pretty good. And then looking down into the loft. So I'm gonna get these other ones up and get the tarp over, and I think I'm gonna call it a day. All right, got the tarp back on. You see the 5 2x4s across there. How's this for a high ceiling? That's a 12-foot ladder. So that should be around 17 feet at the top of that framing. That's a pretty high ceiling. All right, so it's the next morning. It stayed relatively dry in here. I had a little bit of a puddle right there, but there's not too much water on there. So what I'm going to focus on now is going to be getting all this framing done here and getting this wall built across there, getting house wrap on this and getting it sided. Because this is the direction the weather usually comes in, so having this big opening here, a lot of water can get in here still. And then obviously continue to this side, get this wall framed out, and then get this small section framed out. And that'll be it for all of the walls. Up in here, of course, this is going to get house wrap, sided, windows eventually. And then the only interior framing up there is going to be where the bathroom is going to be. So I'm going to get started on this section here. And I know you're all saying, Jason, weren't you working on stairs? I was working on stairs. I kind of stopped that because I didn't want to put them in here yet because they are finished for the most part. And until this is a little bit more buttoned up, I don't want to put them in here and then have them get wet or, just get ruined. So I'm going to continue to use the ladder for a little while until it's a little bit more buttoned up, like I said, and then I'll get the stairs finished and installed. All right, so I made it to Home Depot and I picked up the remaining lumber that I'm going to need to frame out the rest of these walls. That should be everything that I need to finish this out. So right now I'm just doing the layout for the walls. If you can see the marks on there, that is going to be for this wall. So this is going to get built in 2 sections. One section basically is going to go to here, and then one section is going to be in there. This is going to end up being a 6-foot wall just like that. This one will be slightly taller so that it meets, so that my double top cap can go across both of them and join them up. The reason I'm doing that rather than building this all the way up is because I don't have my 2x6 or my 4x8 beams yet, which are going to be for the roof. Just like the lower section will be the exact same beams. So rather than trying to figure all that out and the angles and everything and then have these, 10-foot sections, I'm going to just get my spot level, and then from here I'll just do my pieces once this is up, and it'll end up being exactly the same as what I did down here on this lower gable, and we'll have to do here. I'll end up doing the same thing up on here, which is basically balloon framing, I believe is what they call it, where you're basically building the wall in place. So I'm getting that set up. I'm getting this one set up on this side. And one of the things I never really talked about, which is actually a pretty critical thing, and I don't always pay attention to it, but I really should, because sometimes I get lucky and sometimes I don't. When you're framing up to build a structure, you need to do your layout all from one point. So basically the corner of the building on the outside, that's where you do your 16-inch on centers from, right? So if you have a 2x4 wall, you don't start doing your 16-inch centers from the inside of the wall. It has to be from the outside. Or a 2x6 wall, same thing. And the reason for that is when you go to put your siding on, the siding is 4-foot sheets, right? So basically well, this is a bad example because the C channel's there, but basically every 4 beams, that's a sheet of siding, right? If you're 16-inch on center. So if you start your 16-inch on center from inside here, you're going to be off by the width of this wall. And I actually did mess up because down on this section, since I built these walls in sections, I didn't do my layout right from the back corner here going this way because the siding goes on in this direction. So my siding joints are off on here, and that's why I have extra 2x4s that I'm going to be sticking in here, because where those 3 sheets of siding meet, they're not on a 2x4. So I got to put in additional 2x4s and then re-nail them from the outside. So that's very important and something that I don't always pay attention to. So, but yeah, anyway, let me get back to this and get these walls up. Alrighty, so that wall is done. It's not fully secured in yet. I still will add the double top cap to it, which will be a solid piece all the way across to make sure that this wall is, these 2 pieces are locked together well. I just put a couple nails in there just to hold it in place. I actually want to put this in with screws because I want everything to draw in to be tight. And then, like I said, I'll do the double top cap on there, and then this will be ready for house wrap to start going around, all the way around, to get this top half buttoned up. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I think it's getting pretty long by now. So yeah, let me flip the camera. So, got quite a bit done in this video. Pretty much everything on the loft area, some trim stuff outside. I'm just gonna keep going. So the next video will just start off right where this one left off, and we'll be finishing the wall behind me, getting the house wrap on, and then eventually, it's really windy today. So this tarp is bouncing around a lot. So yeah, getting the house wrap on. The next video, I probably will be working on getting the beams in here for the ceiling, for the roof / ceiling, and then start getting siding on this upper section. just to get everything locked in and dried in. So that's the main focus, is just getting this thing dried in. And then the next episode after that one, I'll probably get started on actually doing the tongue and groove on the roofs, on both roofs at that point. So anyways, I'm gonna keep going. As always, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you on the next video. Aloha.